Hi everyone, it's your favourite Atomic Blonde here with a little bit of Sunday lunch for you. So I hope you all had a good week. My spring is definitely on the way. My hay fever's back, so apologies. I'm a bit puffy under the eyes, but it's just hay fever. All is good here. So thanks for tuning in. Just a few kind of thoughts and reviews this week. Well, probably just more thoughts about upcoming. Sorry, I'm fiddling around my collar here. It's really annoying. Of what's coming up. Is that it? Oh, okay. Of what's coming up. Not had much time to watch much this week. Or what I have been watching is kind of old stuff actually. But same old, same old. But I have watched one new show this week on Netflix. Let's get into this. Called The Signal. Only 4 episodes. I think they're all about just over an hour. It's German, but it is dubbed if you don't like subtitles. The premise is actually a little bit similar to or similarities to, the story's not the same. Constellation, that obviously I've also been reviewing, which I am getting really bored with now, I have to say. The story's not really moving forward on that one, or the episode we just got was a replay of the first episode, but from a different character's perspective. So, I'm kind of losing the will to live with that one a bit, even though the acting's very solid. But this one, so again, we've got the same sort of premise, that we've got a husband and wife, and they've got a daughter. The daughter's deaf, and she's got like the implants. The wife's the astronaut, he's a teacher, and she works for kind of like a private backer, this sort of billionaire woman who sort of initially seems like very spiritual and wants to go to space for the greater good and all these kind of things. And something happens, so the wife and her best friend, effectively, both astronauts, and they're going up together to go to the International Space Station to do some private experiments and analysis while they're up there. And then when they're up there, she hears this there's a signal, and when she analyzes the signal, it just keeps repeatedly saying hello. It's like hello, hello, hello. And obviously she records this signal. She goes and wakes up her colleague and says, like, I found this, and there's a whole thing obviously in space where when there's a certain point in the orbit, there's a complete like dropout. There's like a black zone. So there's no communication between the space station and Earth. So they know the signal can't be coming from Earth because it's complete, dropout zone. And then basically the next day, there's already 2 astronauts already on the space station, assumed from NASA or somewhere. But and she goes to tell them. And when she goes to play the recording doesn't have this voice on it, has something else. And then her colleague basically kind of goes, "You're being pranked," and it kind of makes out that she sort of dreamt it, or this event never happened. And then of course over the 4 episodes, well, then they come back to Earth, and there's an incident when they're coming into land. And then when they're flown back from the landing site to their families, the plane crashes, and we kind of go from there. So and it kind of unravels over the 4 episodes what exactly happened when they were in space, what happened on the plane, because initially they're getting blamed for crashing the plane, the terrorists or something, because their voices were picked up in the cockpit, and they're like, why would they be in the cockpit? So it's quite an interesting story. We also find out through the course of these events that she's actually got some severe psychotic issues. And she was like hallucinating, and she's on antipsychotics, and then obviously she stops taking them so she can pass the drugs test to go into orbit. And she's basically, she should not be up there. So then we're kind of drawn into, well, did she imagine it, or didn't she imagine it, or is there some sort of conspiracy going on? So it's quite an interesting, I think ideal length for episodes, actually. Interesting ending. Not necessarily what you think it's going to be, but not a completely ridiculous ending either. I think the only thing through it is that so you got pretty much, even though he's a teacher, he's a bit of a stay-at-home dad, so he has a very sort of hands-on relationship with, well, that sounds wrong, but he's the primary parent for the daughter. The mum's not really been around because of her career, so they're very close. But the child at times, and again, this really reminds me of sort of Constellation, that these kids are just vile. They just seem to be able to run riot. The parents tell them not to do something, and they're like, no, I'm going to do whatever I like. And the parents just sort of roll their eyes and seem to let them get away with it. There's no parental controls whatsoever. It's absolutely bonkers. And overall, the kid's okay. It's not like she's precocious, but she's just really annoying at times. And the reason I mentioned deaf, because obviously, like, sometimes he'll be like trying to tell, so she just takes a hearing aids off, and then she can't hear him when he's telling her off. And he just kind of lets this go. It's like, so there's some times where, like, the behavior of the daughter is really annoying, but not enough to sort of take you out of the show, really. So yeah, quite a little interesting concept. The whole thing is like, has she imagined this, or have we actually got some sort of first contact going on? And then a bit of a sort of conspiracy, like, is there a conspiracy, isn't there a conspiracy? And basically what happened to the plane. So yeah, go check it out. Say it's not the best bit of TV I've ever watched, but actually you just want something to pass the time, stick it on Sunday afternoon, perfect little bit of TV. Say, quite a solid story. It's always hard to say with acting whether it's good or not when it's dubbed. Voice dubbing doesn't always have the best emotional acting, but it was, so I quite enjoyed it. It was quite a nice little watch. On Netflix now, all 4 episodes. So go have a look. Tell me what you think. So, oh, man. So yeah, I mean, talk about the remake that nobody asked for and nobody wanted. The Crow. Yeah. So I got my let me just full screen that one. Yeah, my Mount Hayes, or my Mount MFA Hayes mug. Shout out to the Wi-Fi channel. Love those guys. And these are great mugs. They're absolutely huge, as you can see, like a proper cup of tea. Yeah, not that they need my help, but go check out their channel. Absolutely brilliant. Love Hecklefish. And AJ. Yeah, so the trailer for The Crow drops this week. Boy, does that look bad. I mean, I think, The Crow, for lots of reasons, it's an interesting one, really, because obviously it is a great film. It really is a great film. Great adaptation. With just so much sadness, obviously, around the death of Brendan Lee. And I don't know, I like to think it still be held in as high esteem as it is, even if the tragedy hasn't occurred. I think it's got a little bit of a sort of mythos of, this kind of, it's a little bit on a pedestal because of what happened, but it is a great film. I'm not saying it's not a great film. It is. And I think, it's that kind of lightning in a bottle. I mean, it's been, and one of the films I'm going to go on to talk about next, again, it's like, why would you do a remake? Seriously, these films are so good that they're as good as they get. Why remake them? Sometimes you might see, a lower budget version of something, or an adaptation that doesn't quite, nail the book, like Dune, for instance. So you can get why it's remade when you've got, advances in technology that you can do the effects, or you can bring more of the adaptation to the screen, as Denis has done. Again, not perfect, as you all know from my reviews, but a vast improvement on the 84-inch, even though I quite like that one for all its quirkiness. And I think The Crow, I mean, everybody was just, it's had an appalling set of sequels to it. Again, it's just this standalone story that just captured this essence, this magic, I don't know, whatever, that X factor, whatever you want to call it. And it's a great, great film. they announced obviously they were making this. Bill Skarsgård, again, very talented actor. I don't think anyone can say that he's not a good actor. But even bringing him to the role, I think everybody was still like eye rolling and going, really, do we need this? And then, but like anything, I try and be open-minded. I try and be like, look, you never know. They might bring something new to the screen. And watching the trailer this week, oof, it looks bad. And I don't know. There's just obviously they're trying to get that grittiness, that gothic, I guess, but not gothic. And I think that's part of the problem. It's sort of just everything about the trailer just kind of just misses the mark. It just doesn't quite sit, and you're kind of. I know the story of The Crow. I mean, we all do. But watching that trailer, you're sort of still sitting there trying to go, well, what? So she saw something and she's dead, or is she not dead? He's dead. So now he's going after them, but you know it, yeah. And FKA Twigs doesn't come across the best actress in the trailer. I mean, that might just not be fair. Obviously, like you say, you have to judge her on her merits. I mean, I know predominantly, obviously, she's a rapper and singer. Acting isn't her first job. I don't know. And the chemistry looks a bit. I don't know. I don't think I haven't really gone out and looked what anybody else is thinking, but I've just seen on a couple of live streams this week that people have kind of just gone, that doesn't look good. You know, my usual channels, Film Threat, Nerderotic, etc. So I really am not. I really don't think this is going to do well. So the retelling of it doesn't look like it's bringing anything new or different. It just seems very disjointed and trying to be too overly gritty without that kind of charm that was in The Crow, because obviously it is a supernatural tale at the end of the day. You know, people don't come back from the dead all the time generally, but none of that seems to be there. And obviously ultimately at the core of this was this massive love story, like, you know, these soulmates, and it seems like two people met in prison and are shagging a lot. I don't know. It just but maybe that's the, you know, modern day take on romance. I don't know, but I'm not holding out much hope for this one. So it's out on the 7th of June. I don't think it's going to be the summer blockbuster that they were all hoping for, which is a shame, because Bill Skarsgård's such a good actor, as are the whole Skarsgård family. I mean, they've got some good genes in that family, blimey. But I don't know. I mean, other than sort of, you know, he's had some really good films like Barbarian and obviously It, but yeah, he just seems to have gone off the ball recently with some of the projects that he's picked. But you know, I guess at the end of the day, when you're an actor, it's steady work, and as we know, sometimes what's written on the page and when people sign up, as Dakota Johnson told us, sometimes you sign up for one thing and what ends up being made is something completely different. Maybe it's that kind of situation, but I hope it doesn't damage his career in any way. But I really just don't see this being the hit that they want it to be. Sorry, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, talking of remakes and all that jazz. So then we've got two films coming out within weeks of each other. The first, Omen, which is a prequel to The Omen. That's why I've got The Omen on here. And Immaculate. Now, I saw a trailer to Immaculate when I went to go see Dune the other week. And I was sitting there watching it and I was like, oh, is this a new trailer for the first Omen? And at the end of it, it comes up Immaculate. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we've kind of got, it seems like almost two identical films coming out. I mean, this happens in Hollywood a fair bit. You know, when we had Armageddon and the other one, the one that didn't do so well. Yeah, so both stories have got this young nun gets sent to Rome. She's at a church or monastery or something, and there's the order that she's there with seem to be doing something quite strange, and this results in pregnancies, and obviously an immaculate. It's I think they call it a reverse immaculate conception, which would imply you have sex, in which case it's not immaculate. So I'm not quite sure how that works. But anyway, it's either immaculate or it's not immaculate, which obviously results in potentially antichrists, I guess. So it's quite strange that, because even the look and the tone of the trailers was very similar. Like I say, I was literally, because at this point I'd only seen the teaser trailer for the first Omen, so I thought, oh, this is the first proper trailer for it. And then it came up with Immaculate, and I was a bit like, I mean, Immaculate I think will do better because it's got Sydney Sweeney in it versus the young lady that was in Servant or Savant, however you want to pronounce it, that was on Apple. That was M. Night Shyamalan. That was very weird series. Rupert Grint. Again, I stuck with it all four seasons, and it's a similar sort of thing. That is she evil? Is she like the Antichrist? Is she, or is it all in their heads and she's just faking all this stuff? It's an interesting one. I'm not quite sure it landed it, but worth checking out if you like your sort of spooky supernatural stuff. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, obviously we got the remake of The Omen in 2006, I think. 2006 or 2000, I think it's 2006. Again, you know, The Omen is such a iconic, brilliant bit of cinematic horror / thriller that, you know, there's just nothing to improve on. I mean, you have an epic cast of Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, Billy Whitelaw, Patrick Troughton. I mean, there's just nowhere to go. And one of the most iconic death scenes ever, with poor old David Warner getting the, you know, spoilers for a 40-odd-year-old film. But yeah, well, I mean, at the time, I mean, even now the effect stands up pretty well. I mean, you can tell, obviously, it's not a real head now, but the effect itself and the timing of it still pretty damn solid. And it was just a yeah. We'd never seen anything like it. I had not seen anything like it again. And I've watched quite a few. I'm a big fan of the Omen films, read the books, and watched a lot of behind the scenes stuff, because obviously there's a whole Curse of the Omen, and some tragic things obviously happened to people connected to the film, but also most people on the film, nothing bad happened to them. But just, yeah, the interviews with like Richard Donner talking about it and how he really framed it or filmed it more as a thriller than a horror. And that really, really worked, that level of suspense. And again, it's like, you know, is he evil? Isn't he evil? And you're literally, you know, finding out with Richard Thorne, Gregory Peck's character, you know, along the way. So as this all unravels, we're learning in real time. And just great bit of filmmaking. So in Hollywood's infinite wisdom, they decide to make a remake, said I think about 2006, which just died a death. Nobody wasn't received well, didn't do anything to recreate the franchise. We then got a TV show called Damien, with a guy who starred, I can't think of his name, but he was Arthur in Merlin. So good actor, great guy. And the show was okay, but then it wasn't very well thought through. It was sort of set now, and then there's pictures of him as a child, which clearly taken from the film. So that's like 1976, but he's meant to be like 30 when this was made in 2011 or something. So that doesn't all tie up. Then they managed to, that actually Kathy's still alive, even though she was pushed out of a, you know, 20-story window at the hospital, goes through the roof of the ambulance, is clearly laying there dead. Somehow she survived all that. And it was just a bit nonsense. It's a shame, because there was a core in there, and what they've done was ignore the two sequels. So it's kind of carried on from The Omen, but they've done it from the point of view that the worshippers around him never really got to him. So even though he's now 30 or something, he has no idea who he is. He doesn't realize he has these powers, and it's them trying to get to him and trigger his Antichrist gene, if you like. So there was something in there, but it just wasn't very well executed at all. But anyway, so this brings us all the way around to the first Omen. So in great Hollywood tradition of we've run out of ideas, let's make a prequel. And in itself, I was like, okay, let's see where they go with this. Could be quite interesting. Now, everything from the trailer, and I was trying to find the article, I can't find it. But the writers of this, or the creators of this, have kind of said, oh, we needed to introduce a human element. Without a human element, there's nothing really for the audience to latch onto. So we had to rewrite a few things. So straight away, you're like, red flags. And what it appears they have done, and the reason I have put this particular image up of the Omen, of Damien's shadow, is that a very integral part of the Omen, for anybody who hasn't seen it, is that Damien was born of a jackal. And we find out in Omen 2, when there's this accident and this doctor runs all these blood tests, that he's like bone marrow and cell structure is jackal. And that's why we find out, say, in Omen 1, that he's never had a cough or a cold, or he's never had mumps or chickenpox, or he's never had anything wrong with him. And the whole thing is why this is so important, is that obviously it's to really get across that he's not human. And Richard really needs to believe this. He has to, he's been raising this boy from a baby. He's like, so again, for anybody that doesn't know, you've got Kathy and Richard Thorne. He's an ambassador, American ambassador in Rome. Kathy's just given birth. We find out that she's had several miscarriages before, but when she gives birth, it's basically stillborn. So the priests, and this is a hospital in Rome that's run by priests and nurses, they basically explain that the baby died more or less straight away. But there's an orphan child, literally the mother gave birth, she died. So, we could give you that baby, no one ever needs to know, your wife doesn't need to know, because Richard's absolutely like, this is going to break her. Like, if she's lost another child, she's not going to recover from this. So in a moment of weakness, I guess, or, and again, as always, best intentions, he agrees to take the child. Things progress. He then ends up being promoted to the American ambassador in the UK, so ambassador to Court of St. James. They come over to England. And on his 5th birthday, so pretty much between being a baby and 5 years old, it's all been pretty normal. They're a very happy family, loving child. And then when they get to England, the first thing that happens on his 5th birthday is his nanny hangs herself in front of him and everybody at the birthday party. She chucks herself out of a window and hangs herself. Then a new nanny's brought in, Mrs. Baylock, to replace him, and she's one of these like protectors of him, as we find out as the film goes on. And it all comes out that basically then this priest comes to him, Father Brennan, and he said he was there when Damien was born, and over the course of the film he tries to tell him like who Damien really is. And obviously Richard thinks he's bonkers initially, but then there's just too many accidents and too many injuries, and Kathy gets hurt, his wife, and he goes off and basically finds I think he's an exorcist and an archaeologist, Carl Bugenhagen, depending on how you pronounce it, gives him these daggers and basically explains how to kill Damien. Robert asks for proof, and obviously we all know there's the birthmark on the head. He returns to London, by which point Kathy's been killed, finds the birthmark, and it absolutely convinces him that this child isn't human, takes him to the church to kill him, and he gets gunned down. And the Antichrist fights to live another day. So this is like this whole Born of a Jackal is, and there's a point where Richard goes to the graves. He opens the grave and finds basically an animal's body, and he also finds the body of his actual child who has a hole in his skull, so he was clearly murdered. But this is like a really integral running theme. Now, it seems from the trailers and from what the writers are saying that they've completely removed this, that he's just born of a woman or a girl or something, which makes absolutely no sense. If this is a prequel and you're supposed to have to sit there and then you watch The Omen and carry on through, that is going to make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Now, maybe they have done something clever. I don't know. Doesn't appear to be, but maybe there's a twist in it somehow. I don't know. But I'm very much, if they have removed this, again, because they're sort of saying it like, we had to change some stuff because otherwise there was no story to tell. And you kind of go, well, if there's no story to tell, then don't make the flipping film. You know, we know he's born of a jackal. There's stuff in the book that David Seltzer wrote, you know, that how he's come about. We don't need a prequel to show us. Or if you're going to make the prequel, I mean, that could have been like really interesting, you know, about how did this jackal manifest and how did it come about, and you know, all these kind of things, and paving the way for Damien to be born. So we've got Father Brennan and Father Spilito, who the two priests in the Omen in this. So again, given that the Omen came out in 76, it would assume that this is filmed or set 74, 75 for these characters to be in it. Obviously, different actors to be the right age, and obviously long since passed, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm really not. I mean, I must admit, when the first trailer dropped, I wasn't massively impressed. I mean, everybody's going, "Oh, it's running backwards! It's so exciting." Bear in mind that these films are Fox, right? We all know Fox is owned by Disney. Does that give us much hope that these are going to be good? I don't know. But I just think it's just really interesting that you've got literally two films coming out a couple of weeks apart that seem to be telling exactly the same story. And I think the ironic thing with the first Omen is if they did actually get into, you know, clever writers who could actually incorporate the canon or the fundamental thing that kind of makes the Antichrist is because he's born of a jackal. That's kind of like he's not human. And they couldn't find a way to weave that into the story. If they had that in the story, somehow it would differentiate the two films. Now it seems we're going to get identical films, probably slightly different take. And the first Omen is obviously piggybacking off a great film. You know, to the point that the jackal is actually in, you know, the movie poster, for crying out loud. But we're all just supposed to, again, the audience is being treated as stupid, right? Oh, it's an old film. Nobody's going to worry about these little details, like the actual, like, fundamental thing that runs all the way through, that is how we, you know, don't, you know, because it's quite, you know, when I think quite a few people, especially parents, find it quite difficult to watch the end of The Omen, where you've got Gregory Peck, who's there like going to stab his son and murder his son, even though we know he's not. But you've still got this little boy who's going, "Daddy, please don't help me, Daddy, don't," you know. So it's a bit of a gut-wrenching thing done very, very well. And at the time as well, I mean, it's even sadder that unfortunately Gregory Peck had recently lost his son in real life. He had chose to depart this world, shall we say. So the acting in it is just phenomenal. I mean, it must have been like, you know, and it's amazing reflection, I think, of Gregory Peck's character, that he wanted to do this role. And I think he felt, I've heard two things. Like, one, it sort of came from the studio, because originally he does kill Damien. But from the test screenings and that, they felt that they weren't comfortable showing, you know, a boy being killed. And then I've read other things that actually Gregory Peck was also a bit like, I love the film, but I'm not really comfortable with this ending. And obviously they done some reshoots, and then you got the best ending ever when the camera just pans down and Damien turns around and just smiles into that camera. It's like, oh my God, he knows, you know, he knows who he is. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if either of these are going to be worth watching, and whether Immaculate will actually come out better because it doesn't have the baggage of The Omen. And like I say, if you're going to make a prequel, at least attempt to tie it in, not just with character names, but actually tie the canon into the story. And when it's such a fundamental part of the story, it's just crazy for me. I mean, I don't know. It's a bit like, I know, taking something called Doctor Who and taking the lead character and saying they're not from Gallifrey. Weird, huh? I don't know. Time will tell. Time will tell how both of these land or don't land, or which one's better than the other one. I probably these are the sort of things I wouldn't normally go to the cinema to watch, to be honest. I generally wait till they come onto streaming, but I might give them a butcher's for the channel, and let you know how they compare, and if they have actually butchered the Omen story. If they've removed that Jekyll element, I'm out, because it just doesn't make any sense. But hey, it's Hollywood. Why does anything have to make any sense, right? Okay, lastly, the 3-body problem. So obviously a few weeks ago, go check it out. I done an initial first thoughts based on the trailer, and I was not happy. They seem to have really fundamentally, I mean, it is an adaptation, I get it, but they seem to fundamentally rip the guts out the book. And I just found it really interesting. And I watched a really great segment on this on Midnight's Edge. Shout out to Andre and the team. With the reviews on this. And yeah, I mean, it seems a completely mixed bag. It seems it's really Marmite. You either like it or you don't. And I think the general theme is, if you've read the books, it's so far removed from that it's very difficult to enjoy. If you haven't read the books, or because I saw Chris Gore's review on Film Threat, and I hold his opinion in very high esteem. Really enjoyed it, and I was shocked. I was shocked, I tell you, shocked, because I was just like, wow, okay. But he did say, I've not read the books, I've got nothing to base this on, I'm just viewing it as a piece of science fiction. So in that sense, I'm a bit like, okay, so maybe they have kept the science in it, because what we were seeing was they really dumbed it down, they've taken the science out, and it's just an alien invasion action thing. So hopefully there's more of the actual 3-body problem in it, which I'm really hoping for, that we haven't lost that hard sci-fi edge, that actual, there's a lot of theories and stuff that run through this book. I think, again, a lot of the criticisms that I have from the trailer, again, obviously I haven't seen it yet, it's out this week. They've moved the story, apart from the origin story, from China to a very global setting. And my biggest bugbear is they've removed the lead character, which is bonkers. How you can do an adaptation and remove the lead character remains to be seen. But the lead character has been replaced by 5 different characters. I think they're called the Oxford 5. And look at the casting, it looks like this is just a good way, like, talk about diversity, tick box central. And one of these Oxford 5 apparently is a girl boss who's incredibly annoying. And to be fair, from the trailer and just the look of the character, you know exactly which one it is. She's got that bad smell under her nose look, like all these girl bosses do. So, and he said she is very annoying. So that's a shame. But sometimes, like I say, like with Signal and with Constellation, if everything else is okay, you can ignore annoying characters. But I just found it really interesting to see how diverse the opinions are on this. It seems completely split down the middle. 3-body problem is one great big miss. That was like Rolling Stone. I think Hollywood Reporter was 3-body problem review. Netflix ambitious sci-fi adaptation is more serviceable than dazzling. And then we go on like things like it's unpredictable. It's the greatest sci-fi thing made in years for TV. And I think visually and production-wise, it'll be absolutely stunning. And like I say, I'm still the bits of the trailer I've seen with the 3-body problem VR looks amazing. And they are the great things in the book. I also read, I saw a tweet or an X from R&B the other day saying it looks like, so when you go into the 3-body problem, like any game, you kind of have a user name or a game name, and you have these characters in there, and people are Copernicus, they're Newton, they're Einstein, and it's like, so you don't know who they are in the real world. Piers, what Robert was saying, they've removed these from the adaptation as well, and they are so critical to it, like the kind of maneuvering that's going on in the background. Characters from the 3rd book are now in the 1st book, even the 3rd book's 400 years in the future. I don't know. I'm completely lost, baffled. It just remains to be seen. It's out on Thursday. And like all Netflix, I'm sure it'll be dropping in one go. And I will review it fairly as I do everything. I will review it same as I did with Dune. I'll review it as here's a standalone bit of sci-fi. What's it like? What do I think? And then review it as an adaptation. And I'll let you know what I think. I got a feeling I'm not going to like the adaptation, but let's see. It could be a really solid show if I can park the Brain Book, and just watch it. It could be a really, really good stand-up bit of sci-fi. I'm just worried that, like I say, they've removed so many core characters. They've moved the location, which I get to a degree. But the problem is removing the character. So Benedict Wong's character, Dishu is actually like a nickname, and he's the copper in it, and he's in a few of the books. And he's a very central to the character, and elements of his culture and his Chineseness are very integral to the story. But now he's from London, and he's Clarence something. I don't know. And I was a bit like, how's that going to work? I mean, granted, obviously Benedict Wong's Korean anyway. He's not Chinese. But they're just like some fundamental things where they just rip the guts out the character, or appears to have ripped the guts out the character. Because initially when I saw who he was cast as, I was like, actually, that's quite good casting, being, Korean aside. In terms of how I visualized the character, I was like, actually, that's pretty cool. But now he's Clarence Wong or something. I don't know. But we will see. But the whole reason he's called the Dishu translates to like big guy or something like that, and it's quite important why he's called that to the story. And I don't think there's any explanation as to why he's just called this in the adaptation without really explaining it. And okay, that's probably like a trivial thing to lots of people, but when you start adding up all these things that they've changed, it starts to grate on you. Yeah, so it was interesting, really interesting, because I was really keen to see what the reviews were going to be. As I say, it's quite a mixed bag. Well, not a mixed bag. I think in the main, most people liked Dune's Part 1 and 2, and the nitpicks were all around bits that they'd left out from the book, pretty much, and some pacing issues, definitely. But fundamentally, everybody sort of said like the feel, the tone, the world of Dune was created. So you didn't lose the heart of the book effectively. That's what I want to see, is whether we've lost the heart of the book in this, taking so much out of it. I really don't know. And I just don't want it dumbed down as well. They dumb it down to lowest common denominator, take out all the science stuff. It's like, that's kind of the reason why I read the book, or this one of people like this hard sci-fi. They want something that's going to challenge their noodle, not just spoon-fed all the information, So I don't know. I will know on Thursday, but like I say, I'll be nothing but fair. I will review it as a show and review it as an adaptation. Let's see where we land. I'm kind of intrigued to watch it. I was completely like, ugh, but I'm quite intrigued to watch it after seeing this complete split of reviews. It's going to be really interesting to see how this show lands. So anyway, I'm a little bit more excited to watch it now. And like I say, I don't doubt, like, production values wise, it's going to be amazing, visually stunning, and given the budget they had, it's whether they can land for me the core of the book, the essence, the heart of the book, and the impact of this knowledge has on people. So we'll see. Could be good, could be awful. I just feel it's been like quite a negative show today. Just like, this doesn't look good. Not sure about this, not sure about that. But hey, it's Hollywood. We get what we get, right? We have come off the bounce of some great shows like The Gentleman. Go check out my review for The Gentleman. I think it's still #1 on Netflix. Absolutely banging show. Loved it. That will guarantee to put a smile on your face, as long as you don't mind swearing and violence and drugs and things. So anyway, go check out The Gentleman. Obviously, go see Dune 2 if you haven't been to see it yet. Really important that we support good quality filmmaking. And we've got Ghostbusters 2 coming up on March 22nd. Obviously, we've got a couple more films coming out. And there's a few more shows around the corner. So, as always, I will continue to review these so you don't have to. Well, you can if you want, but yeah. So hopefully I'll be back again as always. If there's something to be chatting about, I'll do a little bit of Atomic Pop chat. If not, I'll just be back next weekend with some more Sunday lunch. So all have a great week. Thanks for tuning in as always, and remember to please like and share. So share. Please like, share, subscribe, whatever. Shove share, is that a new word? I haven't used that. Okay. So you can always tell it's time to go. I just start, yeah, I know. Honestly, there's only tea in here. I promise there is only tea. But anyway, what's up? Yes, have a great week. Please like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you're thinking. Are you excited for any of these upcoming movies? Are you like, were you a fan of The Omen? I don't know. Have you read The Three-Body Problem? Are you looking forward to this? Or do you think people like me just get too hung up about the books and the adaptations and like, just let it go? Love to know. Love to know your thoughts. Have a great week. I will see you soon. Take care.